CA Dixit Jain is a seasoned chartered accountant and the founder of the Tax Experts DMCC in Dubai, a leading consultancy specializing in NRI taxation, FEMA compliance, and international tax advisory. With over a decade of experience and a global clientele across the Middle East, USA, UK, and Canada, he is recognized for his strategic insights and client-centric approach. We also have in our studio CA Chirag Barmecha.
Chirag Barmecha is a dynamic CA blending tax and finance expertise into advanced AI skills and creative marketing. At the Tax Experts DMCC, he advises on tax structuring, international tax laws, and corporate tax and tech solutions, having built a customized trained AI solution and a tool for UAE taxation. We've got these two wonderful
Gentlemen.
individuals.
Two CAs, एक नहीं दो CAs
Yes.
हमारे साथ. Good morning, Chirag, and good morning, Dixit.
Very good morning.
Good morning.
Everyone.
So, global tax net, expanding global tax net, ये है subject. If you could, give us a little bit of idea about what is global tax and what areas are we considering today?
See, global tax is something, as the name suggests, somebody who has to take care of their taxation around the world. So, just a little bit of example. For example, as an individual, you are living in Dubai. Now, you are earning income in India, you are earning income in USA, UK, Canada. Now, when you live in a country like UAE, which doesn't have, or now I could say now some taxes have come in, but earlier, let's say there was no taxes. We were like, okay, we don't have to pay taxes anywhere in the world just because I'm living in this country. But that's not true, because there are a lot of countries which follow the rule of earning or source-based taxation. Means
Right.
if you're earning income in that country, you will have to probably pay taxes in that country. So we are going to cover those little bit of aspects of what will happen if you are an NRI living in Dubai, earning income in, let's say, India or UK or Canada or US. What's going to happen to your tax residency status, how the taxation will work, what kind of reporting we need to do, etc., etc. So this is going to be the subject for today.
Right.
And we're going to try and educate our listeners about their responsibilities of reporting and paying taxes or filing taxes.
Right, अगर आपके पास भी सवाल है, दो CA है, एक नहीं दो है.
Double whammy आज.
So आप हमें जरूर मैसेज कर सकते हैं कि as an NRI या फिर as a resident in probably UAE और आप income earn कर रहे हो probably in different properties around the world, what is the global tax implications आपके क्या हो सकते हैं? You can always give us a call या WhatsApp कर सकते हैं 0586861003.
Diving in straight to the first question, CA Dixit Jain, आपके question है आपके लिए in terms of as someone who's advising over 3,000 global clients all over the world and so many employees that you've come across, how are you seeing the sentiment shift from NRIs and SMEs in response to the rising global tax environment?
Oh, great question. I guess the sentiments are really shifting very rapidly. I mean, if you see the kind of tax laws have been changing, like the tax laws are changing faster than the notebooks today, right? So it's very, very important for us to keep a track of all. Now, for example, with the OECD CRS coming in, now CRS is Common Reporting Standards.
Okay.
Now nothing is secret. So all the SMEs and all the NRIs who were in the impression that, okay, I don't have to report anything, they are probably in the in a myth right now, because whatever they have is already reported to the respective countries. So nothing is hidden now. So the mindset is changing now. They are more aware. They are more like we need to move, we need to be more compliant in terms of showing or reporting our taxes, our income, our assets wherever required. So the mindset has actually shifted. People are more cautious now. Because the laws have become transparent, the countries are sharing data with each other. Now we see that people are getting notices from other countries.
Yeah.
For example, some Indian living in Dubai getting notices from Indian tax department, ED department in Dubai, saying, okay, we know that you got some properties in Dubai. Now show us the source of funds.
Oh, wow.
So with that kind of integration of the systems, technology, now it's very, very difficult for people to assume that things are with me. It's not with you anymore. It's with everyone in the system.
Right.
So
all thanks to technology, I think, and CA Chirag can give us more updates on that. Being tax ready for startups, digital native businesses, and technology का impact क्या रहा है for tax, global tax?
Yeah, so two things primarily. When you say being tax ready, so I feel tax ready has two major points. First is awareness, which I still feel there is a very, very big lack of, especially with smaller businesses. Still, a lot of people think that I have a company in a free zone, that's why I will be 0% in the 0% tax.
Right.
That's not the case. You need to follow a lot of conditions to qualify for the 0% tax. So first is awareness, and second is having the proper infrastructure, proper systems set in place so that you are tax ready for the future compliances, for the future returns, whatever. So having basic tools like Tally also helps so much because a clean, streamlined, readily available source of data is available with you, and you can analyze and comply with it anytime that you want.
And with the advent of ChatGPT and Perplexity and everything, लोगों को तो खाली chat करने पे सारा information मिल जाता है about tax. See, Dixit?
Now I think everything is available. Everybody is a CA.
Can we just file returns also there?
I mean, you can try,
Put
but
our
then
account
How reliable is it? That's a question.
yeah, I mean, everybody is trying to become a CA, but trust me, I mean, technology cannot be replaced. Humans' efforts cannot be replaced by technology completely. For ChatGPT also to be updated, we need a human on the back. So ChatGPT can guide you on what needs to be filed, what are the correct schedules to be filed in the returns, but it cannot completely replace your the human intervention.
Yeah.
So I always feel that technology is not something which will make human redundant. It is always making human more productive. So we should embrace the technology. So with the kind of softwares we have around, like Tally is one of the softwares which have automated a lot of reconciliation for us. They have actually optimized our time. We are spending less time in doing more of a data entry now.
Correct.
So technology is really a bigger factor now in our system. And I think with that the taxes are, as I said, transparent. So there is nothing to be hidden. So let's use the technology in a better way rather than hiding something.
CA Dixit, my question to you would be, what are the certain business structures? There should be some structures, right? Especially among the NRIs and among the SMEs, among UAE business firms that need to be more proactive in terms of evolving industrial standards, especially the international tax frameworks. So, uske hisab se aapka kya, what is the zarya in which people can work?
See, I mean, there are a lot of structures people talk about. For example, a lot of people, they want to do inheritance planning, succession planning. They say, okay, I want to just make a company for the purpose of investments.
Right.
So what people do is they make a holding company, they make a foundation, they make a kind of a offshore company. Now, without properly going into or deep diving into what is really needed for them, they just go by the advice of somebody. I would say take a proper advice of an expert before diving into any structure, because those structures may not be tax efficient for you, right? For example, now a lot of people they say, okay, let's make an offshore company. We're sitting in Dubai. Now they don't understand that it can trigger a POEM, it can trigger a PE in Dubai, it can trigger a lot of other things. That income which you think is not taxable may become taxable for you in UAE. Now with this exchange of information, with the CRS coming in, now as I said, nothing is secret. Now even all the BVI companies and the offshore companies are now they are readily available in the database of the government. I would say that whenever you're planning a structure, just define the purpose. Whether your purpose is tax planning, whether the purpose is inheritance or succession, depending on that, take a proper advice and go for that structure. Just don't go by what ChatGPT is saying. Just don't go by what Google is saying. Take a proper advice from a consultant.
Would you agree, CA Chirag?
Yeah, definitely. So like you talked about, I built an AI tool for that. So that was the same problem that we were facing.
Okay.
When we ask any question to ChatGPT or even Gemini for that matter.
Okay.
The answers are so inaccurate because it just searches up the web and any article.
तो आप एक्सपर्ट हो तो आपको लग रहा है inaccurate. बाकी जनता जो यूज कर रही है उनको तो misguide किया जा रहा है.
That's the biggest problem that Dixit pointed out. So we need to be very aware about the same. And as he said, so being tax ready. So if you just follow blatant advice that you get on the internet, it is most probably not going to be accurate. And that's why taking proper advice from an expert is
human expert, yeah?
From a human expert is so important. Yeah.
And for example, एक case लेते हैं. A lot of people have their properties back home और जिन्होंने rent पे दिया है. What are the implications that they have? You have to be a resident UAE का तब जाके नहीं होगा. या फिर even if you are a resident of India working here in UAE, अगर वो थोड़ा decode कर सके.
See, I mean, it's very simple. Anybody in India can buy.
आपके लिए simple है.
हमारे लिए complicated.
काफी लोगों के लिए.
आपके पास property होगी, आपके पास भी होगी.
हाँ, 3-4.
So tax notice आया नहीं है, पता नहीं भेज देंगे.
हमने सोचा secret रखेंगे, आपने तो बुलवा ही लिया.
Spilling the beans.
Okay, I mean, see, it's so anybody who is having a property in India, now there are a few things they have to keep in mind. So first is, of course, if they are getting a rental income in India, they need to make sure they are filing the taxes in India if they are falling under that threshold.
क्या है threshold? Please बताइए.
So for NRIs, the basic exemption is 250,000 rupees, now 300,000 rupees.
3 लाख.
3 लाख रुपए.
अच्छा. तो 60,000 पे मुझे भरना पड़ेगा क्योंकि मुझे 3,60,000 आ रहा है साल का.
तो still because आपका TDS कट रहा होगा. So क्या होता है for NRIs, there is a TDS under section 195. So basically as a resident tenant, they are supposed to deduct 30% TDS on your rental income, irrespective of what they are paying it to you.
Okay.
So if you want to get that money as a refund, because most of the time it will come as a refund to you, because you are not paying any other, assuming that there was no other income in India for you. So all that money can be refunded to you, which is been withheld as a TDS. So for a person owning a property in India, the main thing is they should keep in mind whether the TDS or withholding taxes has been taken care of by the tenant. They have to inform the tenant if they are not informed. Most of the time we have seen the tenants in India are not aware about the non-resident provisions. So they end up deducting the tax which is supposed to be deducted for the resident landlords.
Okay.
So that is the mistake they make. So maybe maybe you can go forward one step forward and tell them that, well, I'm NRI. Please follow the rules which are withholding tax rules.
ये बहुत important point बोला आपने यार.
Exactly, because the percentage of TDS itself is different.
Okay.
So the percentage of TDS for residents and NRIs is very different. The section is also different.
So एक blanket सब पे लगा दिया TDS.
A lot of
possibility
people do that.
होता है.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So, Dixit, you've been recognized as Tech Entrepreneur of the Year. And how do you see technology enabling firms to deliver more agile, client-focused tax solutions? Because this is something which all the companies are now struggling with. How do you figure out which is the compliance and tax, and how do they better regulate themselves?
Yeah. So Tech Entrepreneur of the Year, again, Tally is the one which recognized me Tech Entrepreneur years a couple of years back. I mean, we created a software in Dubai called SnapTax, and that software was aimed to basically automate the corporate tax filings and the compliances.
Okay.
So when the corporate tax was announced, we thought everything is coming in a scattered way. The laws are coming every day, the rules are coming every day. People have no clarity that how the free zone taxation is going to work. People have no clarity that what is the qualifying commodity, what are the tax status and all that. So we tried and create a software which consolidate everything, which can help people file their returns, which creates a return out of your trial balance.
Okay.
So we tried to make that kind of software, and I think the question what you asked, is the technology is always helpful. Now people. I've always been telling people that the great minds with great technology will succeed, but the great minds without great technology will not succeed.
Right.
So technology has to go hand in hand with the great minds, because now the speed at which the data is changing, speed at which the laws are changing, as a human mind, you cannot keep everything in your in your notepad. It has to be technology enabled.
That's
the
right.
AI has to work with you. It has to work for you, and that is the only way you can move forward, I guess.
More of an enabler.
Yeah. इनफैक्ट मैं देख रहा था कि देयर इज अ न्यू लॉ ओडीआई क्रिकेट में आया है जहाँ पे 34 ओवर्स के बाद एक नया बॉल, और मतलब ऐसा कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी हो गया कि मैं बोला कि यार अब क्रिकेट खेल रहे हैं कि यार ऐसा मैथमेटिकल इक्वेशन फॉर्म.
कल एक नया लॉ आया जिसमें वो बाउंड्री पे कैच पकड़ते हो, बाउंड्री का उसको समझने के लिए भी डिकोड करने के लिए भी बहुत सारी चीजें पढ़नी पड़ी.
बट ये जो ग्लोबल टैक्स कॉम्प्लेक्सिटीज होती है, हाउ कैन टेक्नोलॉजी हेल्प अस विद दैट?
Yeah, so for example, the biggest problem with the laws right now, especially in the UAE, is that new laws have been coming up very, very frequently, and they issue a bunch of guidances which are, let's say, 100 pages, 200 pages.
Correct.
And for us to analyze the impact, it takes hours and hours of research.
Right.
So if you can build a tool on that, which we did, the tool is called Notebook LM by Google, and we built on that.
Wow.
So we gave it all the data that the ministry has issued so far, and we trained it specifically to interpret tax, analyze tax, and give us the drafts in our format that we want.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
So that
So I
saves
would
hours and
add-
hours of work.
I would add one more thing. This guy Chirag, he's actually worked on that tool. It's kind of Chat GPT, but Chat GPT searches the web and gets all the information, and that gives a more of an outdated data sometimes.
Right.
But this particular tool, which we are using internally in our office, gives us the accurate information. Whatever question you ask in terms of corporate tax, it will give you. It's not for public. It's only for our staff. But that has been really
So
really
the
helpful
thing
for all
with
of us.
ChatGPT, as I said, is that it hallucinates. Hallucinates as in it just searches through the web, it forms its own theory and gives you the answer.
Correct.
And in tax, accuracy is 100% important.
Right.
So इसीलिए we had to develop something which is 100% accurate and quick as well. So we had to do it in-house. So basically we've developed a GPT for tax, you can say.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
It's our
you plan
assistant.
to sell it? Is it
No,
मतलब
we don't
आगे?
want to say. This is
You
more.
don't want to
Yeah,
sell it, okay.
It's like giving you an edge over other.
Of
Yeah.
course, because we have to keep our staff, all the time on the toes. Because
Yeah.
when a client is raising,
You don't need a
questions-
staff now with this.
No, we need. Of course, somebody has to put a query, right?
I like the way you clarified it. Yes, we need the staff. Yes.
It's like a research assistant for us. So the biggest breakthrough that we've achieved because of it is the timelines in which we can consult the client. The speed at which we can work has now rapidly increased. increased.
Yes.
The research time has been saved a lot.
For example, we make an impact analysis on a corporate tax for a client. Now, earlier we used to, do read all the books, all the database, data available, all the ministerial decisions available, one by one. Now that was taking a lot of time for us. Now we just put a simple query, put all the data what we have in the system, and it gives us the impact analysis straight away. We just have to review once, twice, and probably format it, and that's it. So our work, which was taking, let's say, 10 days, now it's happening in 2 days or 3 days.
Right.
So yeah.
That brings me to a question for both of you, Chirag and Dixit, for both of you. Ki, while using tools like SnapTax and with Tally being there, how do you see automation playing a bigger role in global tax strategy, especially with compliance? जो strategy होती है, compliance होता है. How do you think tools like SnapTax and with Tally also being there, how is it going to help?
So I think SnapTax, Tally, they are all, as I said, they are all family members to us. Because without them, I don't think we can really run a business. Because SnapTax is something which is going to automate your tax filings, and Tally is something which is automate your data also. Now they are doing a auto reconciliation, and the data has been imported in Tally. Now the entry time, the time in which we are doing data entry, that has been reduced. Tally is also providing you with VAT reconciliation. Now they're also coming up with the corporate tax, tax amount to be payable. They have a lot of things coming up. When I was sitting in the Tally offices, the kind of innovations they are going to take up now has blown me away, I guess, because they are coming up with so many new things. I think life is going to be very, very, very simple using these tools.
Proactive updates for the software are very helpful for the customers. And I want to point out one specific thing. A lot of small businesses tend to ignore such tools. They think that why is this important? But I just say that if you just use these tools and streamline your accounting and database, it will reduce a lot of hassles and headaches in the future. And in fact, it will also reduce the potential fines and penalties that you can get in the future. So it's like saying that failing to plan is planning to fail. Right. So these tools are extremely essential for the coming landscape.
And also with the automation phase, that's going to be implemented, Chirag, where do you see that helping the corporate organizations?
So everywhere. So for example, if you have Tally, if you have the right systems and infrastructure in place, tomorrow you want to file your corporate tax return, or you want to set up a new business strategy and you want to analyze the tax impact. You have all the data that you require very handy. You can take all the analysis that you can do, and you can twist and turn whatever you want in the system itself.
Okay. That's very interesting.
We'll continue.
Everything is available.
We'll continue the discussion. अगर आपके पास कोई भी सवाल, you can send a WhatsApp 0586861003. आज हमारे स्टूडियो में एक नहीं दो CAs है, CA चिराग और CA दीक्षित. सुनते रहिए Talk SME Essentials brought to you by Tally Solutions. ग्लोबल टैक्स नेट की बातें हो रही है. सीए दीक्षित, सीए चिराग हमारे साथ. गुड मॉर्निंग निकिता.
Good morning, Vivek, and to both of our CAs here. My question for both would be about the US tax and the tariffs that have been imposed by Trump and the implication in terms of the remittances. Indians को ज़्यादा ये remittance affect हुआ है. How do you have to see?
I think now US is talking about putting up a remittance tax. Earlier, the proposed tax was 5% of all the remittances you make, but now I think they have reduced it to 3.5%.
Right.
Now that is going to be a massive impact on people living in US remitting money back home, because as per what I know, they remit about $32 billion a year. That's a huge amount of money which they are remitting from US, right? So what has happened is that now US government is saying that, okay, if you are a non-US citizen living in US, for example, you are on a student visa or a H1B, H2B kind of visa, and you are remitting, or even the green card holder waiting for the citizenship now. So they earn money out of US and they remit out of US, then probably they will have to pay a 3.5% of remittance tax. Now that's going to be probably a $1 billion of effect, or the money which is going to be made by US out of this remittance tax. They're huge.
Absolutely. And when you look at the global tax economies, how is this the tariffs being implicated? Now a lot of countries are facing the back burner in terms of the way they're feeling the pinch. Import exports, maybe there is effects. In UAE, where do you foresee these tariffs going, and where do you see the economy now building up? Is it going to be towards an inflation, or how is it going to be like?
I think US is going around the globe, putting the tariffs on the countries which are putting tariffs on them. On the UAE has been very fortunate, I feel, in that way, because they are the one who are not imposing a lot of tariffs on US. So US has been very liberal with UAE, but other countries are feeling the pinch. For example, China, we all know what happened with them, right?
But वो खाली बोलने के लिए था ना, 100, 150, 200 and then coming back.
कम हो रहा है, but कितना कम होगा?
यकीन करे नहीं करे.
No. So although it was applied for a temporary period, the impact was there, and a lot of companies have also changed their strategies going forward. So the shout out by Trump was very, very loud.
he wanted people to make in America, like what we say,
Yeah.
make in India.
Yeah.
He want people
And
to
make in UAE
America,
also
make
be,
it- yeah, I mean, of course.
You know, how does this affect the global trade which is happening? You know, जब ये tariffs आता है, ये कितना affect होता है, and how can UAE benefit from it now?
So एक example लेते हैं. For example, if I am selling a packet of biscuit to you for let's say $5.
Okay.
Now earlier there was a tariff of let's say 0%. Now suddenly the tariff is increased to 100%. Now the person who was buying that pack of biscuit for $5, now he has to suddenly pay $10 for that, right?
Okay.
So of course the cost of living goes up.
Yeah.
Everything goes up, with that tariff. So it's the individual, it's the end consumer which is going to face the heat for that. And of course the businesses will also, because the businesses which are importing some essential raw material from countries like China and India, they're going to face problem as well, because the cost of product will go up. For example, the iPhone, if something is happening from China, assembly is happening in China, the tariff has gone up, the iPhone price will go up. So there are a lot of things which will impact the end consumer.
Right.
So
So the
ultimately,
prices will go up, volumes will go down, and eventually the profits of the business person will also go down.
Right. And then job losses, and then multiple
Yeah, so-
economic. And then
Ripple
ये जो
Yes,
ट्रम्प और
ripple
एलॉन मस्क का जो भाईचारा था वो उसका भी कुछ
वो
इम्पैक्ट
भाईचारा ही है, because वो भाई लड़ाई करते हैं.
इसीलिए तो China had put a retaliatory tariff. So yeah.
Yes, that's true.
Absolutely. So, CA Dixit, my question to you about your experience with FEMA and DTA is, what are the common mistakes do clients make, especially managing cross-border taxation, especially those with ties in India? What are some of the mistakes that you
I
foresee?
think in last 13 years what I've seen is कि बहुत सारे लोग बोलते हैं कि because मैं दुबई में रहता हूँ मुझे कहीं पे टैक्स नहीं भरना है, because मेरा NRE account है मुझे कुछ नहीं करना है, so a lot of mistakes people make knowingly and unknowingly. I think the common mistakes which are avoidable mistakes which people can avoid it. One is, of course, if you're getting any income in India, do report that income in India, file your taxes.
Yeah.
If you're doing a repatriation out of India, for example, if you sold a property in India, want to get that money back to Dubai or transfer that money from NRO account to NRE account, you'll have to have proper documentation in place. For example, Form 15 CACP issued by a chartered accountant, Form A2, Form, if DTAA benefits are taken, then you have to have a TRC, you have to have a Form 10F. So a lot of other documentation has to be taken care of. You have to also see whether you are, not breaching any of the FEMA guidelines. For example, a lot of NRIs, they end up buying a land in India which is an agricultural land. Now, unknowingly, they buy that land, somebody will sell there, some agent will sell them in India, but now FEMA doesn't allow you to buy an agricultural land in India if you're an NRI.
Yeah.
Because, simple logic, you are an NRI, you're buying
But
an
already
agricultural land.
अगर है डैड के नाम पे already, and now this is
So, for example, आपके डैड इंडिया में रहते थे, रेसिडेंट थे, उन्होंने कुछ बाय करा था.
नहीं अभी भी
हाँ.
है, let's say,
हाँ.
and probably I can be the owner now.
Yeah, so
That is a
inheritance-
possibility.
that is allowed. So FEMA allows you, for example, if your dad was a resident Indian, not NRI, and he bought a land which is an agricultural land, he can always gift you. He can always give it to you.
Inheritance is allowed.
Inheritance gifting is allowed if that was bought.
But otherwise you cannot go
you
in.
cannot buy a
cannot-
fresh land, fresh agricultural land. Yeah.
Wow, what are you saying?
Yes. So a lot of people actually
ये
make
बड़ी
a
बात
mistake.
है.
Very
Actually.
big misconceptions. So like Dixit pointed out, like you said for NRIs,
Yeah.
NRIs think that if I am staying in Dubai and I am dealing with shares of Indian companies from Dubai, it is not Indian income, whereas it is. So even those things will be taxed, and even that you will have to report, or else you will get other fines and repercussions later.
And people also, since you're talking about DTAAs and
Yeah.
FEMA and all that, there are a lot of people who take a wrong claims. Now, this year, for example, the income tax deadlines are shifted. Normally, it is always 31st July. Now, they have been shifted to 15th of September. Reason being, the forms are getting updated. Earlier when people were filing their tax returns, they were just claiming ATC deductions. There was standard deduction of, let's say, 1,50,000 rupees. They were just claiming it. Now, government says, okay, we just don't take a data like that with a number. You will have to put the policy number. You have to put a date of policy. You put a lot of other details.
Okay.
A lot of people are claiming HRA benefit in the tax return. Now they say, okay, you have to tell us, what is the lease agreement date, who are the PAN number and Aadhaar number, and all those data has to be captured.
Everything must have a backing now.
So now they are trying to create a web where it cannot be escaped. You cannot just put a wrong data and claim benefit and just go away. Now everything is being tracked.
Right.
Even a single rupee of deduction which you are claiming in return, which has to be substantiated.
Right.
So things are changing now. The government is taking their own time. They are extending the deadlines to make sure that people are filing all the proper details in the returns and just not claim the deduction just for the sake of claiming it.
Correct. So do the authorities also use AI tools as of now?
Of course. So not AI specifically, but a lot of technology tools. So we've been seeing with our clients repetitively that even though they do a very big cross-border transaction, that is not at all linked to the government or any government entity.
Right. Right.
still they get a notice.
Okay.
Because everything is linked to the PAN card, the government database is fed because of that, and then the software itself analyzes these transactions and then sends notices
So
automatically.
some of the one of the latest example I will give one of my client what they have faced. So they had created a company in Dubai, and
Okay.
that was a kind of a nominee structure they
Okay.
had in somebody's name, and they have a main business in India.
Right.
Now the Indian business got raided
Oh.
by income tax department.
Okay.
They found some names of this company in Indian.
Oh
So
my,
they
okay.
basically sent the information to the Ministry of Economy in Dubai, and the Ministry of Economy sent a notice to that company that we need these data to be filled in a particular format, and then that data will be shared in to the Indian government. So that's the kind of scrutiny. That's the level of scrutiny which is going on.
We got a question regarding purchase of agricultural land. Is it allowed for NRIs or non-citizens?
No, it is not allowed for NRIs. So even if you are a citizen of India but living in Dubai, or which means you are a non-resident Indian, you cannot buy an agricultural land.
ये तो बेस्ट हो गया यार मतलब बेस्ट मतलब अच्छा आपने आंसर मतलब ये दिया कि इंफॉर्मेशन दिया एंड या यू हैव मोर क्वेश्चंस यू कैन ऑलवेज सेंड अस अ व्हाट्सएप 0586861003 9:38 on the clock. Vivek और निकिता आपके साथ है. CA Chirag and CA Dixit in the studios. This is Talk SMEssentials brought to you by Tally Solutions. We are discussing the expanding global tax net. We're also discussing कि corporate tax जब से implement हुआ है यहाँ पे the registrations and also filing the returns. अभी तक तो हमने उतना ध्यान नहीं दिया है about companies getting fines. But is that on the pipeline? CA Dixit?
Yeah, I think a lot of people have taken registration deadlines in a very easy way. So now, since they know that we have to register, we have to file the return, they are now doing registration, or some people have done a late registration. So they have all been fined 10,000.
Arre,
But
wow.
the government is very kind here. They said,
Okay.
okay, we will give you one more mocha.
Okay.
You filed. So if your deadline is, let's say 30th September for the people who have a period of Jan to December, if you file your return by 31st of July, we will probably waive off your 10,000 dirham of penalty. So the government is giving you one more chance to correct your mistake, file the return early, and take the waiver.
File the return proactively. So basically, the deadline for return filing is 9 months post your year end.
Okay.
And they say that if you file it within 7 months, they will waive off the penalty.
अच्छा 2 महीने पहले अगर फाइल किया तो what is the फायदा for the government?
Because they don't want system to be hanged, right? Everybody's
If
filing
everybody
last
was come in
month.
September,
Okay.
9
They also
months,
want people
the
to
system
file
will crash.
early, so otherwise
Okay.
site may crash. People may complain, okay, site was not working, so we
Correct.
couldn't file in time and all that. So they
Correct.
want people to take a proactive action, file early as possible, so that we don't face a problem at the end moment, at the deadline.
अच्छा तो ये बहुत अच्छा है solution that you file early.
Correct.
So CA Dixit, CA Chirag, both of you, I have to ask a simple question. How do you file returns in India? कैसे कर सकते हैं NRIs?
इंडिया में तो बहुत सिंपल है.
कैसे? Somebody who doesn't know,
I mean, now I think couple of years back, government has came out with some utilities in India जहाँ पे आपको CA की जरूरत भी नहीं है. So for example, if you are having a very simple return in India, having just let's say interest income, rental income, and some other income, now they have given a facility of downloading AIS and TIS, tax information and annual information, where all your data is pre-populated. So basically, you can download those utilities, and all your data is pre-populated. And if you think your nature of income is not complicated, very simple income, you can actually file a return on your own. You don't need a CA. But I would not say that you don't need a CA. You still need a CA to review that.
Correct.
Because if a simple mistake can be very, very big for you. So, but otherwise, I think government wants more and more people to file return, because a country like India, where more than 150 crore people living, only 7-8 crore people filing returns in India. It's like a huge burden on those 7 crore people to take care of the country as a whole. So the tax returns have been made very, very simple. Anybody and everybody who wants to file the return, they can file. For NRIs, sitting anywhere in the world, it's online. You don't have to file the physical returns like earlier when I used to do articleship. I used to stay in a line in Bandra to submit the physical return on Tapal.
Wow.
Those queues.
Now those queues, of course. Now that's not there. Now everything is online. You sit in your home, download the data, just cross-check everything, all the information, and just file it.
Right.
It's just one click of a button.
No, what we'd also see कि हर साल एक report आता है जहाँ पे ना some number of millionaires moving to Dubai or probably investing here in Dubai. So as a resident and a citizen of India, उन्हें अगर invest करना है यहाँ पे, what is the procedure to get the money here legally and also to make those investments?
So I think Chirag will also add to that later. So see, in India we have, so if an individual, for example, you were a resident in India, not a non-resident, living in India for most of the time, let's say more than 182 days in India, you become a resident of India. So if you want to invest outside, let's say you want to invest into some stocks, or if you want to buy some shares, or maybe
property here or anything.
Properties is little grey area, I would say why. But a lot of people are doing properties also. So there is a rule called LRS, Liberalized Remittance Scheme, which allows an individual to remit up to $250,000 per financial year. Provided that money is tax paid in India. Now there's another catch. Now a lot of people were using this LRS route every year. Let's say there were 4 family members, they were using $250,000 each. So $1 million was coming out of home. So because there was no restriction, people were remitting money outside India. They were keeping the money in a bank account in Dubai or somewhere. They're buying properties here. Now government realized that a lot of money is going out of India every year because people want to remit money outside India. They don't want to keep money in rupee because dollar is appreciating.
Correct.
Now government has levied TCS, which is called as tax collection at source. Now they say if you want to remit money,
TDS तक ठीक था ना?
Exact opposite of TDS.
अच्छा.
TDS में जब
tax deducted at source, tax collected at source.
TDS में जब अपनी income होती है, like we receive money, then the percentage of whatever TDS is cut. TCS में it's opposite. When we pay to somebody, we'll only cut. Yeah.
So we'll not cut.
मतलब पैसे जाने हैं हमारे.
हाँ, मतलब आपको 250,000 remit करना है तो government बोले पहले 50,000 हमको दो.
Yeah, exactly.
ये सही है, लेकिन अभी तक मैंने प्रॉफिट नहीं कमाया है और I didn't make more of it.
It's like US is putting the tax on remittance 3.5%. India has already put the tax.
Yeah.
So I think US is behind India in that.
So Chirag, how important is it for businesses for becoming more reactive and to preventive towards tax planning? And where do all these companies fall short?
The biggest factor where all of them fall short is, I guess, ignorance and awareness. As we notice with a lot of our clients as well. People just assume कि ये तो ऐसा ही होगा, वो तो वैसा ही होगा, मुझे क्यों टैक्स आएगा, मुझे तो कुछ भरना नहीं पड़ेगा. But whenever you take any big business decision or structuring decision or any big financial transaction as well, consulting a proper advisor and expert is super essential for that. Because if you don't, then you'll have to be reactive. Then you'll have to act like a firefighter.
Yeah.
Whereas if you plan in advance, you will be the architect of your own transaction.
Correct.
And you'll be able to prevent.
Exactly.
Yeah. So a lot of people, they just, for example, they form a company in a free zone, assuming, okay, we are a tax-free free zone.
0%.
We are in JAFSA, we are in safe zone, we are in JAFSA. They said, okay, our transaction is also zero rated, we don't have to pay any taxes, without considering the other factors which are given in the law. For example, you have to have adequate substance, you have to have employee sitting in, management decisions happening there. A lot of other factors are there which has to work in correlation, which doesn't take place. So a lot of people just assume, right?
Follow the headlines and neglect the nitty-gritties and the fine details. And that causes huge repercussions later.
Right. And when you're talking about launching, from Dubai operations to founding your own firms, can you share a client story where a strategic global tax firm had a big impact, and what advice can you share from their learning?
I think when I was starting up in Dubai on my own, I think the one good thing I would say, and I'm always thankful to all my clients who were there with me when I was working for a company, they all said, okay, we want to be with you. I think the support which I got from them was amazing, because of them. And I would say on air that, thank you to all of my clients who are listening right now. I mean, because of you, what we are today. I think it's very important the client also understand that it's not about brands. It's about the individual who gives you the advice and somebody who is available all the time for you. So for example, if I'm traveling somewhere, even if I'm, let's say, 8 hours behind or maybe 10 hours ahead, I make sure that I reply to my clients. I'm always on my toes. So I think one key takeaway I would say that in my journey which has been there is that being available to your clients all the time, that makes a lot of difference. And of course giving them a proper advice in terms of any transaction. For example, if somebody wants to sell a property in India, now selling a property in India for an NRI may be a nightmare. Because I'll just give you a simple example for that. For example, let's say Vivek, you have got 3 properties, right? 4 properties.
The number is increasing as you speak.
So abhi 3 hai. So let's say you want to sell one more property. Now I don't know in that one property which is sold you face any problem or not, but this problem comes to a lot of NRIs. Now what happens is when you sell a property in India, being a non-resident Indian, the buyer, if he knows the non-resident taxation rules, they will say, okay, we will deduct now 12.5%, earlier 20% tax. If it is a long-term capital gain or asset or long-term property for you, on the sale amount.
Okay.
So let's say you are selling the property for 1 crore rupees, they would straight away deduct 20 lakh rupees or up now 12.5 lakh rupees.
Okay.
Now people don't know how to mitigate that tax also. There is a way where we can mitigate that tax as well.
अच्छा 12.5 लाख भी नहीं बना.
12.5 lakh नहीं but so for example if you're saying that my profit is not that much, 12.5 lakh का tax बनना ही नहीं चाहिए, so we can apply for a lower tax certificate. There are way we can go to assessing officer, we can say okay, I want to file an application because tax burden is too much on me. I don't want to block my 12.5 lakh rupees for 1 year period, while I get the refund. So there are ways to mitigate that tax also, which people don't know.
Okay.
Now the TDS deduction, filing of TDS returns in India, claiming of refunds, there are all lot of things which has to be followed. So making people aware, giving them a right advice, because nobody says okay, you file for a lower tax deduction. We say a client, if you are eligible, if you don't want to block your money, please do that. There's what is the harm in that? In 30 days, 40 days you get the certificate, so you should do that.
As we speak, एक सवाल आया है. I have a question related to today's topics on taxes. If I want to transfer quite a big amount from my UAE account to an NRE account, will there be any tax deduction? The money which I saved in UAE account belongs to my salary savings.
So fortunately, we live in a country जहाँ पे remittance tax नहीं है.
Yeah, so it will be zero. No tax.
Unlike India and US, which is now proposing.
For example, अभी जैसे हर महीने जो है ना हम भेजते हैं to your parents, So there is a threshold on that, right?
No threshold. No. Say for example,
I can send any amount.
हाँ. So for example, आपका salary 100,000 dirham है, and आप बोलो 80,000 हर महीने भेजना, तो ठीक है भेज सकते हो ना, क्या problem है?
No, the threshold that we talked about was for sending money from India.
Yeah.
There is no threshold to send money to India.
Oh, this is really
So
interesting.
India says आने दो.
आने दो. जाने में problem है. आने में कोई problem
नहीं, जैसे for example अगर dad के account में जा रहा है और if it is more than let's say 3 lakhs or 4 lakhs, then he'll be taxed.
The good thing is that
No.
if a son is
your
sending,
foreign income.
if a son is sending to a dad's account,
Right.
let's say a gift for him, the gift is not taxed in India, by the way. If it is given by a close relative like a son to your dad. So even if you send, let's say, a big amount of money, 10 crore rupees to your dad's account, your own account also,
Okay.
there's no question to be asked because it's your own legitimate money.
Okay.
Gift is nice.
This is amazing, yeah.
It
But
is.
when you're coming, तो कितना
Yeah,
tax
So then
होता
there
है?
is limit.
So
उससे कोई
basically,
limit है.
as an NRI, if
$250,000.
that is for resident Indians. So if somebody is living in India who wants to remit money outside India, that's
For example, dad को मुझे भेजना है.
हाँ, तो वो 250,000 का लिमिट है. But for example, you sent money to India to buy a property. Let's say you bought a property for 5 crore rupees. You sent money from Dubai and now you sold that property for 10 crore rupees.
Right.
So government gives you a limit of $1 million, which is let's say about 8.5 crore rupees today. That much of money you can limit every year.
Okay.
Right. So for you to get money from India to abroad, your limit is $1 million, which is a freely available limit. You can increase that limit by applying to RBI. You can always apply to RBI saying that okay, this $1 million will not be sufficient for me to get money out of India. You have to give proper reasoning and all that. Chances of getting approvals are 50-50, but you can apply to RBI to get more of a remittance limit from them.
So Chirag, what have you experienced? I mean, can you share a moment where you've taken a blend of technology and tax knowledge and created a breakthrough for a client and it navigated, cross-border issues for them? Some learning and takeaways from your client.
Yeah, so like we discussed earlier also, I'll just touch upon that in more detail. So once we developed this our in-house AI tool, it did a huge breakthrough for a lot of our clients and specifically for one of our clients, wherein the client wanted a very specific transaction related advice very quickly.
Okay.
And we could deliver that at extremely fast speed. And that was a big breakthrough only because of the tool and the software utility that we had.
And was this like a cross-border issue that was faced by the client?
Yeah, so most of the clients have a global business.
Right.
So we need to also understand the UAE corporate tax law and the other global tax laws as well. So yeah.
That's very interesting.
बहुत ही important 2-3 proactive steps that NRIs or globally active SMEs also should take right now to prepare for the coming wave of stricter tax transparency and digital audits. So a country, let's say USA, और यहाँ पे अगर आप हो कमा रहे हो, they can find anything out all because of digital audits.
Yeah, because you are filing CRS, which is commonly footing standard. All the banks now, for example, if you go and open a bank account, they are asking you to file a form called FATCA, FATCA, and they are asking you to file a form called CRS.
Even a digital bank
any
account.
account that you open, even a bank account, even a crypto account, any account that you open here, you will be asked for FATCA and CRS, and that basically allows them to report that transaction to the US once the government asks.
So now
for it.
US government knows what all foreign accounts you have.
Yeah.
What all investments you have outside US, because US wants to tax everywhere, right? They want to tax your global income if you're a US citizen. So all the banks, all the exchange house, everybody now, they take a CRS and FATCA declaration. They are obliged obliged, because the US government says if you don't oblige our instruction, we probably won't allow you to bank in our country. So the banks are afraid, they are afraid to open an account for a US citizen.
So for example, एक UAE resident वो invest करता है in US stocks and UAE properties. He doesn't have to because he's a UAE resident.
Yes.
लेकिन अगर वो US resident है लेकिन and he's working here and he's earning वहाँ पे, then he has to pay depending on the threshold.
He has to file his taxes in US.
Because बहुत सारे बच्चे वहाँ पे जाके पढ़ते हैं and they also work there and they also come back and work here.
People who don't have a citizenship of US, they don't have to worry about that much.
Oh, okay.
Probably,
This Patka is for citizens.
Okay.
US
Citizens.
Yeah.
Right.
As we speak, एक और सवाल, if I have only investment in fixed deposits NRE only, still I have to file income tax returns. Mihir का सवाल.
I think if it is only NRE income, now just for information, the good thing is NRE interest income is not taxable in India. So if your only income in India is NRE interest income, you don't have to worry. The filing is not mandatory for you, but we always advise our clients to keep filing a return even if it is zero. Reason being that whenever you go back to India, the government of India doesn't know what kind of investments or what kind of income you were earning, which was exempt income also. Because that exempt income can anytime become taxable income when you go back to India.
The thing is, for example, you have saved a lot of money throughout the years, and then you move back to India, and then you do a big transaction there.
Okay.
And if you don't file your returns, government will ask that from where did this come? Whereas even if you filed a zero tax return, you have disclosed that I have income, but that is foreign income. So it helps in the future.
So that has happened with a lot of our clients actually, who have not been filing return, and suddenly they go back to India and they file, fixed. They show a fixed deposit of let's say 10 crore rupees, and suddenly the interest income comes in. Now they are served with the notices for the period which are like back years. For example, 2017, 18, 19, all those years are opened up saying that we will not disclose that income. So we always advise our client, even if it is not there, just try and file the return. Filing is not a hassle. It's very, very convenient.
But fixed deposit मतलब मैं ऐसा सोच रहा हूँ कि ऐसा 15-20 करोड़ का फिक्स डिपॉजिट हो तो बात बनती है ना?
I think उतना तो हो गया आपके
I like that comeback. So, CA Dixit, as a leader of ICAI Dubai chapter and being a founder of a prominent consultancy, what leadership mindset is needed, according to you, to stay ahead in a fast evolving tax world?
I think I'm fortunate to be a part of the committee of ICAI Dubai chapter. I take a lot of pride on being the committee and also leading my firm. I have right set of people working with us. I always believe that the first important thing for any organization or anybody to succeed is the human. Technology can always aid in your success, but it cannot replace your success. So I think the most important thing which I always follow myself is that always give respect to the human who are working with you, working along with you, or who have been in touch with you, right, all the time. So I think you should be more human focused and then try to embed technology within your organization, because technology will fast track your growth.
मतलब अगर ह्यूमन कमाएंगे नहीं तो टैक्स कौन भरेगा?
टैक्स कौन भरेगा?
है ना? मशीन से तो आप भरवा नहीं पाओगे.
आप चैट जीपीटी को बोल नहीं सकते टैक्स भरो.
Humans can't replace technology, right? I mean,
if you just put a command in chat GPT, please pay your taxes. I'm a non-profit organization.
मिहिर का एक वॉइस नोट है, क्विकली हम सुन लेते हैं क्या कह रहे हैं वो.
I am still getting the notice from income tax department for not filing the income tax return. Even though I don't have any income in India, in NRO or any property or nothing income in India except the fixed deposit. How I justify this?
Oh my.
Okay, so as I said, now what happens is, let's say for example you invest in India, you have a property, you have a fixed deposit. Now in his case, let's say he has an NRE fixed deposit. Now he is under the right impression that I don't have to pay any taxes in India because NRE interest income is not taxable. But what happens is, for example, you open a fixed deposit in any bank.
Okay.
Now banks are supposed to report that data to the income tax department. Now banks, when they are reporting that data, for example, you have let's say 10 lakh rupees of fixed deposit. Now bank will report that data to the income tax department because all those fixed deposits are linked to your PAN number. Now when that report is being submitted to the income tax department doesn't know whether the nature of fixed deposit is NRE, NRO or resident. Now they see that you have a 10 lakh rupees of deposit.
Correct.
It means some income would have been generated.
Yeah.
Now they don't know whether it is NRE, NRO and all that thing. So how will they come to know? They will only come to know when you file a return and say, okay, I am a non-resident.
Okay.
I have stayed out of India for so many number of days, and that is the reason my income is exempt income. So that is why I'm saying filing is important, because that will avoid getting these notices. So in your case also, same thing.
अरे brilliant यार. Really, I think this is very helpful for Mihir also. And हमारे भी मतलब जाने का टाइम हो रहा है for CA Dixit और CA Chirag. लेकिन before that, There's one last question.
Yes, from co-founding youth initiatives to developing fintech tools, Chirag, can you tell me what mindset should young finance professionals adopt to succeed in tomorrow's global tax landscape?
Firstly, I'll 100% agree to the point that Dixit made. I
Yeah.
personally believe with that as well. That following your values, your qualities, following human connection is the most quintessential thing. You cannot just replace that with anything else. And once you have that, then of course, adaptability and resilience, I feel, is super important in today's world. The tax landscape is constantly evolving.
Right.
Technology tools are coming in. If you are very adept at using those tools, you can optimize your workflow so much and you can do so much more. But being adaptable and having that mindset that I have to learn every single day is super essential.
So, if you look at technology, it's an enabler.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You should always consider it as an
augments
enabler.
our work.
Yeah, not something that can replace you.
Yeah.
Superb, yeah. It was wonderful having you both.
Can I just add one more?
Yeah,
thing?
yeah.
Yeah, because we are talking about taxes. I think for everybody who thinks tax is a burden, so I would say that the right tax advice will just not protect your downside. It will accelerate your upside.
क्या बात है?
So just try to.
ये
see-
कोट पे मीर ने बोल दिया, प्लीज आपका नंबर दे दीजिए हमको. Send your contact details. How can people get in touch with you all?
Yeah, so we have a company called the Tax Experts DMCC. We are based out of GLT, and our website is tax-experts.ae, and our contact number is 055 75 21929. So anybody especially for me or anybody like me who is facing this issue, we are happy to help.
एक और सवाल जाते जाते आपको जाने नहीं देंगे इतने आसानी से, क्योंकि हमारे स्टूडियो में एक नहीं दो सीए. Can you suggest how a first timer can file their taxes considering they earn in India and in UAE both NRE and NRO income?
So everybody has a first time. Sometime has to be first time, right? So if you are a resident of UAE, means you are non-resident to India. Don't have to worry about UAE income. Whatever income you are generating in India, you have to disclose that income in India and file the return. So NRO income is generally tax deducted at source. So it's good that if you file a return, probably you'll be eligible to get some refunds. So just go on the income tax portal if you don't have a CA. They have the utilities available which are auto-populated from the system, as I mentioned before. You can file your own. Otherwise, if you need any help, we are here to help. So we can help you file your returns as well.
Super.
Thank you, Chirag, and thank you, Dixit, for being here in the
Thank you so
studios.
much.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
It was amazing,
Yeah.
and thank you
It
so
was a
much for having us
pleasure
here. Thank you.
talking.